Doors closing.
Morning, Doc Holliday.
Don't even. I've worked 2 double shifts this week, and I swear my bones are making creaking noises.
Yeah, it would have been much funnier if I'd actually called you Bones. Next time, maybe. What's wrong? You look like you fell asleep inside a vending machine.
I did take a power nap on top of a crash cart. That count?
This right here is the test route, so folks. Y'all think it's just a blue line train, but no. This is the loop the feds use to gauge human behavior under stress. Classic conditioning loop.
Uh-oh, we've got a morning conspiracy theorist. It's been a little while.
He's got that I printed my own ID badge energy.
You think it's a coincidence there's no cell service between Cicero and Racine? That's the scrub zone. Electromagnetic fog. We're basically being marinated in predictive brainwaves.
So what's the end game?
Rehearsal. They're prepping us for a parallel dimension evacuation. You'll see. One day you'll blink, and suddenly your shoelaces will be tied on the inside. Then it's too late.
That sounds deeply uncomfortable.
Hey, you got any gum?
All I've got is anxiety and a coupon for 50 cents off a burrito.
That'll do.
Cicero is next. Doors open on the left. Cicero.
That was new.
What's with everybody on the blue line wanting gum recently?
You reminded me of a resident I worked with once who claimed he could hear Wi-Fi.
Was he right?
I mean, he always found the best signal.
This is Tales from the Blue Line by Auditory Anthology.
Speaking of shifts that mess with your brain, did I ever tell you about the time my friend went 36 hours straight and wound up in a part of the hospital that technically doesn't exist?
No, but I love it already.
The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, flickering ever so slightly in a way that made the sleep-deprived brain itch. Nurse Jessica Alvarez had been on shift for over 20 hours now, running on 2 protein bars, 4 cups of break-room coffee, and pure stubbornness. The emergency room had, against all odds, settled into an eerie quiet. No ambulances, no alarms, no patients dragging in with coughs they'd ignored for 3 weeks. Jessica leaned against the nurse's station, rubbing the bridge of her nose. The monitors beeped softly in the background, like a lullaby designed to push her into microsleep. She tapped the edge of her pen against a clipboard and tried to shake the fog from her mind. "Deliver this to records?" her colleague Dana asked, holding out a manila folder with patient charts. Jessica blinked and then nodded. Sure, West Wing, right?" Dana hesitated, then shrugged. "Yeah, I think so. They've been moving departments around again." Jessica took the folder and made her way through the maze of hallways, her sneakers squeaking quietly against the vinyl floor. The hospital had that 3 a.m. stillness to it, like the walls themselves were asleep. As she turned down a corridor, she thought she recognized something felt off. The lighting here was dimmer. Not broken, not burnt out, just softer, like the entire hallway had been dipped in sepia. The walls were a different shade of green, too. Not the usual institutional mint, but something deeper, like wet moss. She slowed her pace. Had she ever been in this part of the building? A room passed her on her right. 320. Then 322. Then 326. She frowned. That wasn't how the numbers usually ran. Just ahead, the hallway split left and right. A small dusty sign with peeling gold letters pointed left toward records. She turned, and as she did, she felt a sudden shift in the air, like stepping through a curtain of static electricity. Jessica stopped walking. There was a weight to the silence now. Heavier, expectant. She glanced behind her, half expecting someone to be there, but she was alone. A whisper of doubt scratched at the edge of her mind. Maybe she wasn't as alone as she thought? Jessica followed the gold-lettered sign down the narrow hallway toward records, the manila folder still tucked under her arm. Everything felt dulled. The sounds of the hospital, beeping monitors, distant phones, footsteps had vanished. Even the buzz of the overhead lights was gone. Only the quiet scuff of her shoes against the linoleum reminded her she hadn't gone deaf. The hallway ended in a small waiting room she had never seen before. Beige walls, brown vinyl chairs, a defunct vending machine with off-brand snack wrappers fossilized behind cracked glass. And at the far end, a windowless door labeled Records in blocky black letters. Jessica pushed it open. Inside was a tiny office with a single desk and 2 gray file cabinets. A man sat behind the desk. He looked to be in his 60s, pale and thin with wispy gray hair that floated above his scalp like steam. His ID badge read Anders. He didn't look up when she entered, just kept typing on an ancient keyboard that clacked like a typewriter. Delivery from ER, she said. No response. He continued typing, rhythmic and mechanical. Jessica cleared her throat. Hi, charts from the emergency department? Anderson stopped typing mid-sentence. His fingers hovered over the keys, frozen. Slowly he turned to look at her. His eyes were too dark, not black exactly, but a kind of bottomless gray, like he was peering out from deep underwater. "You're not supposed to be here yet," he said flatly. Jessica blinked. "Excuse me?" Anders didn't answer. He stood slowly, retrieved a clipboard from the filing cabinet, and flipped through the papers. No, this isn't right. You're early." Jessica took a step back. "What are you talking about?" "There's a process," he muttered. "A very specific process. The ones who wander down here are always scheduled." He tapped the top page with one long, bony finger. "But your name's not on the list. You're not on any list." "I just got lost," Jessica said, backing toward the door. "I'll find another route." "You found this one," Anders said quietly. "They always do, eventually." Jessica reached for the doorknob, but the moment her hand touched the cool metal, she froze. The hallway outside was gone. Where the corridor had been was now just more room. A sprawling space lined with old gurneys, flickering light panels and shadows that didn't seem to line up with any source. The hospital had vanished behind her like it had never existed. Anders sighed. "It's a long shift," he said. "You might want to sit down." Jessica didn't sit down. She stepped through the doorway with the folder still clutched to her chest like a shield. The room had no end. It unfolded in strange, impossible geometry, corridors that curved slightly, doors that led to identical copies of the same room, nurses' stations stacked like Escher drawings, floating 2 feet off the ground. But it was empty. In the corner of her eye, Jessica caught glimpses, people moving in and out of rooms, patients muttering to themselves in languages she didn't recognize. A woman in a nurse's uniform from the 1950s pushed a gurney through a wall. A child in a hospital gown asked her calmly and sweetly if this was the new wing. An orderly with a CRT monitor strapped to his back walked past reading a newspaper dated October 12, 2029, a date that hadn't happened yet. She tried to call for help, but her voice barely carried. Every sound seemed dampened, like yelling into a pillow. Her footsteps didn't echo. Time felt elastic, stretching and bending until minutes became hours, then flipped back again. At some point she lost the folder. She turned a corner, found it lying on the floor next to a bench. But when she reached for it, a man, tall, sunken-eyed, with a hospital visitor's badge from the 1970s, gently shook his head and said, "You don't need that anymore. You're on shift now." "Shift?" she asked. "What shift?" He didn't answer. He simply pointed to a hallway that hadn't been there moments ago. Down that hallway, the fluorescent lights flickered in a slow, deliberate rhythm. She followed it. At the end was a nurse's station just like her own, except the equipment was out of date, the computer was missing, and the whiteboard listed patient names she didn't recognize. Still, there was a desk, a schedule, and a note left for her. Nurse J. Walker. Admit new patient, room 2B. Red check vitals, Mr. August, room 4. Sign out time, pending. She stared at the page. The handwriting was hers. That's when the intercom crackled, something between white noise and a low growl, and a voice whispered, "Walker, to room 2B, we're losing him." Her body moved before her brain caught up. She walked the corridors like she belonged there. She found room 2B. She took vitals. She comforted patients whose eyes glowed faintly in the dark. The hospital may have changed, but the work was the same. Somewhere deep inside, Jessica knew she should panic, but she didn't. She'd been thrown into chaos before, overwhelmed, understaffed, under-rested. There was comfort in the familiarity of crisis. But it didn't stop the gnawing realization from growing. She wasn't just lost in some forgotten wing of the hospital. She'd slipped into a place that shouldn't exist, and something here was waiting for her. Jessica wasn't sure how long she'd been working in the shadow hospital. The rhythm of her duties kept her anchored. Vitals, check-ins, codes called over muffled speakers, all slightly off from what she knew. Some patients looked like they belonged here, faded, translucent, like old film negatives, but others seemed as confused as she was. One man in a hoodie kept asking for his cell phone. A woman in a wedding dress bled from the palms and refused to sit down. A child drew a door over and over on scraps of paper, whispering, "This one leads home. This one leads home." Jessica clung to her training. Tasks were grounding. Protocol was armor. Then she found the mirror. It was tucked into the back of what should have been an old supply room, behind a curtain that didn't flutter even when she passed by. The mirror was oval, antique, its edges etched with vines and birds. Her reflection looked wrong, not monstrous, not decayed, just tired, exhausted beyond reason. Her face showed more days than she remembered living. But behind her reflection, the hallway was different. It was her real hallway, the one she remembered. Fluorescent lights buzzing, bulletin board with outdated flyers, coffee machine humming. She turned around. Still in the shadow hospital. She turned back to the mirror. The normal hospital was still there. And she realized this was her way out. She leaned forward, pressed her hand against the glass. It was warm. Then she heard a voice from behind, calm, kind of raspy like an old radio. "If you leave, they'll forget you were ever here." Jessica turned. The man from earlier, the one with the visitor badge from the 70s, stood in the doorway. His eyes glowed faintly. "That's the price. You return, but this place won't keep your name. You won't remember why it matters." "I don't care," she whispered. "I want to go back." He stepped aside. "Then go." She turned back to the mirror and stepped through. The hallway was cold and real. The lights were too bright. The smell of disinfectant too sharp. A nurse passing by barely glanced at her. Jessica turned to look back. Just a wall. The mirror was gone. She looked at the clock. It was only 6:10 a.m., maybe 10 minutes had passed. She checked the whiteboard. Her name was gone. No sign of her shift. No note. No sign she'd ever been assigned there. The only proof she had was a scrap of paper in her pocket, one of the child's drawings, a door sketched in pencil with the word "home" written underneath. Jessica walked out into the break room. No one greeted her. No one seemed to notice she'd been missing. She sat down, shaking. From that day forward, she never worked another double. She never wandered unfamiliar hallways, and she never, ever ignored a strange voice on the intercom. But sometimes, late at night, she'd catch her reflection in the glass of a window or the surface of a monitor screen and swear she saw a reflection of herself, still working, still trying to find her way out.
Only Boost Mobile.
Boost Mobile.
We'll give you a free year of service.
Free year?
When you buy a new 5G phone.
New 5G phone?
Enough.
But I'm your hype man. When you purchase an eligible device, you get $25 off every month for 12 months with credits totaling 1 year of free service. Taxes extra for the device and service plan. Online only.
Okay. That was unsettling.
Right? It's one of the creepiest stories I've ever heard on a break room couch. The whole idea of slipping into some parallel hospital you can't leave? No thank you.
You telling me someone actually told you that happened?
She swore up and down it was true, said it happened during her residency and no one believed her, not even her supervisor. But she quit the hospital a week later and started doing outpatient peds.
Can't blame her. I'd have started selling essential oils on Instagram after that.
Honestly, I don't even know what I'd do. But I'd tell you this, I don't take elevators if I don't have to, and I definitely don't wander into wings I've never been assigned to.
Probably for the best. And if you ever see a mirror that shows the wrong hallway...
Oh, I'm running like it's a code blue. Don't worry, if I ever get trapped in a haunted version of the CTA, I'll leave a message on a fogged up window for you.
I'll check every morning just in case.
See you tomorrow, Mason.
Stay out of weird hallways. Tales from the Blue Line by Auditory Anthology is written and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at weirddarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to this series, you can do so by visiting submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid subscriber, you'll help keep the stories coming. You'll also get every single episode completely commercial-free, and now you can also vote on which story will feature in upcoming episodes.
Ya vienen los touchdowns. ¿Estás listo? Esta temporada de la NFL convierte las jugadas grandes en premios con DraftKings Sportsbook, un socio oficial de apuestas deportivas de la NFL. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para recibir $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando hagas tu primera apuesta de $5. En colaboración con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.